All right, just before we go to the global space, there's the Public and Private Development Center. They are saying that the suspension of foreign aid as announced by the United States, that's no longer news, has disrupted operations and forced it to lay off. Here in Nigeria, the impact is also being debated. How much impact are these cuts in international or foreign aids? But it also comes with opportunities, according to the Department of Economic and Social Affairs at the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. So we have Mr. Robin Ogilvie joining us to share some findings as international aids gets reduced. What opportunities are there for Africa and all of that? So that's the conversation we're going to be having next now. And I begin by asking those aids cuts from the OECD's latest tracking. What's the global outlook, Mr. Ogilvie? Is it going to get worse or is it going to get better?
There's no easy way to spin the story. I mean, we've really seen a profound shift in official development assistance from the 33 traditional donors that we bring together at the OECD in the last couple of years. Total official development assistance peaked around 2022, 2023 at $225 billion, and since then we've seen almost unprecedented declines. We saw a 9% drop in total ODA spending last year. This year we're predicting a drop of anywhere between 9 and 17%. So that's on top of last year's drop. So it's really not looking great. For African countries, particularly for sub-Saharan Africa, this is quite alarming. Again, these are only preliminary estimates, but we may see reductions in aid spending this year amounting to anywhere between 16 and 28% of spend. So it really is quite worrying. Globally, it's particularly worrying for Africa, also as it's home to many, if not most, of the world's least developed countries.
So what sectors are mostly affected by these cuts?
I mean, I think there's several things going on here. The biggest risks are probably in the social sectors. It's education, it's health. I mean, these are areas in which the very rapid rise in aid volumes that we saw in the early 2000s and actually through the 2010s contributed to enormous progress against the Millennium Development Goals and then the Sustainable Development Goals. I mean, this means more kids in school, more kids completing school, fewer women dying in childbirth, reduced infant mortality. And so, you know, there's a real risk of setbacks in these areas, as many of these countries do still depend on international development cooperation in these sectors. I think it's also compounded by the fact that in parts of West Africa, particularly in the Sahel, geopolitics and security developments have made it increasingly difficult for many bilateral donors to operate. Some of our members are moving out of the Sahel, either closing their embassies, closing their physical presence in the Sahel for those reasons. And again, there's a risk of a double whammy, that with the departure of some bilateral development cooperation partners from the region, there's a further exodus of much needed aid funds.
So, I mean, the OECD sees that there are also some opportunities, especially for a country like Nigeria. Where are some of those opportunities that can be maximized at this time?
I mean, first of all, new technologies will never offset a decline in solidarity spending, no, in spending on official development assistance, and they shouldn't be used as an excuse for reducing aid budgets. But you know, we have to accept that digitalization is with us, digital transformation is happening, and it can bring new opportunities for many developing countries. Nigeria is already reaping many of the rewards. I mean, you have very successful mobile payment systems that have enabled Nigerians to have access, many of them for the first time, to the financial sector. You have now a new digital ID infrastructure, which again is part of this ecosystem. You need with a digital ID you can do lots. You can take out loans, you can buy goods and services, you can access government services, and so on. So I don't think it's how can Nigeria benefit from others? I think it's also how can others be inspired by some of these successes in which Nigeria has been a pioneer. And here are a couple of things that we're working on in my organization at the OECD. I mean, one, I'm trying to pull together now a coalition of a consortium of interested donors to look at how between us we can use AI technologies to better target the limited aid that our members spend. Second, we are now and just signed an agreement with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to launch a new platform for knowledge sharing on digital public infrastructure. So that's about taking examples such as the ones I mentioned in Nigeria, drawing lessons from them, drawing good practices and figuring out how to bring them to scale, both in Nigeria but globally.
And we hear of emerging donors outside the OECD. What are you observing? What trend can we expect in the nearest future?
There's no single emerging donor. And many of them aren't new. Many of them have been around for a long time. They have a long history of mutual support, of solidarity, South-South cooperation. I'm here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Fund for Development was founded in the 1970s. It's older than many of the bilateral aid agencies of the OECD economies that I work with. So it's less about new versus old, but I think it's more about different perspectives. I think that if I take Saudi Arabia, I mean, it's seen by many to be a long-term, trusted partner, willing to work with others, and I think that's been one of its strengths, as well as obviously its strong emphasis and expertise on infrastructure. If I look at others, I mean, Indonesia, for example, G20 economy, a country that's set to join the OECD at some point in the future, is playing now a vital role, particularly in Southeast Asia, in bringing its know-how and expertise, soft skills, institutional knowledge to bear on the reforms that countries in its own region are undertaking. There are also fantastic examples of countries in different regions collaborating in what we call triangular cooperation. I was just reading the other day about a project in which Saudi Arabia partnered with the UK to provide electricity to schools in solar electricity to schools in sub-Saharan Africa, resulting in hundreds of thousands of additional children in school. And so in this model, you can think of each partner as bringing a little bit of what makes them special, or a little bit of their expertise, and pulling it together so that the sum of its parts, so the whole is larger than the sum of its parts.